All right, here we go. It's 23 November, and we're going to keep continuing on this timeline here and then get into my timeline. And on 23 November, that would have been, a Saturday? So Oswald has spent the night in jail, and then I believe that morning he was brought out for questioning by the sheriffs and the FBI and all those other guys. And so Oswald basically has about 24, 25 hours to live. All right, but we'll keep getting into it and going through the evidence and see what we got. And here we go.
Truly, about the mysterious interruption of electric or telephone service, nor will they ask the location of the electric and telephone service panels. Nellie Connolly, sitting in the presidential limousine, turns to President Kennedy. Mrs. Connolly will later recall,
"We were having such a wonderful reception, and we were all so excited, and we had through all these other cities, and I had restrained myself up to that point from saying anything, but I could no longer stand it. So I turned around to the president and I said, 'Mr. President, you can't say Dallas doesn't love you.'"
Talk about the ironic statement of the year there. Wow. And then what? A few minutes after that, he's getting shot full of holes. So let me turn on the CC.
The presidential limousine, proceeding down Elm Street, passes the Stemmons Freeway sign.
Alright, and I don't know if he's doing this just for brevity or what, but there was actually a shot before the Stemmons Freeway sign. Because, well, let's see. Look at it right here. We'll go back to these great photos on this Dealey Plaza, UK. So let's see if we can find that first photo here. Hold on one second. Yeah, right there. So you can see, look, there's no Dealey Plaza or Stemmons Freeway sign yet. Okay, it's going to be about 5-10 feet that way. You can still see the line of people there. They've already heard the shot. Okay, so he's already been shot before the Stemmons Freeway sign, and then when he emerges, that's when Connolly gets shot. And other people, or not other people, but other shots ring out. So he's shot either right before or right at the Stemmons Freeway sign right there. Alright, we'll keep going.
You're listening to Black Op Radio.
Oh yeah, this is on Black Op Radio, so that's a good little thing to listen to.
Led by Ira David Wood III.
Dallas, Texas, Dealey Plaza, November 22nd, 1963, 12:30 p.m. On hearing the first burst of firing, Sheriff Bill Decker glances back and thinks he sees a bullet bouncing off the street pavement. Motorcycle officer Starvis Ellis also will testify he sees a bullet hit the pavement. Neither...
And there you go. That's another bullet, either one or two bullets that two officers are testifying that they're seeing. So if you have three bullets, one hitting the president in the back, going into Connolly, the magic bullet, another one bouncing off the curb and hitting Tague, or hitting the curb and then the chunk of concrete hitting Tague, and then the third one hitting the president, obviously Bill Decker and this motorcycle cop can't be seeing another bullet, according to the Warren Commission. But people saw what they said, especially when you have two people seeing the same thing. You can probably go by that. That's probably something that did happen.
Decker nor Ellis will ever be questioned about this by the Warren Commission. Motorcycle officer James Cheney will also tell newsmen this day that the first shot missed. It is suggested that JFK is hit by small pieces of the street pavement and stops waving for a moment. James Teague is standing.
So when you see the video, you actually see him hear the shot. He turns backwards. It stops waving, turns backwards, and then he's hit by another shot. So there's one shot that gets everybody looking the opposite, back behind them, and then there's another shot that hits him in the neck. So that's two shots right there.
Standing near the triple underpass in Dealey Plaza. He is about 450 feet from the Texas School Book Depository. Lee Bowers in the railroad tower behind the knoll is aware of some kind of commotion behind the picket fence, where he has previously noticed two men milling around.
I just am unable to describe, rather than it was something out of the ordinary, a sort of milling around, but something occurred in this particular spot which was out of the ordinary, which attracted my eye for some reason, which I could not identify.
Mrs. Donald Baker standing in front.
So I wanted to go into something that may sound a little woo-woo, but I know from experience, and everyone knows these things happen. Some people call them sixth sense. I really don't believe it's sixth sense. I just think it's information overload. So your eyes and your ears, even your nostrils, take in lots of information and feed that to your brain. Okay? Your brain can't handle all of it, so it filters out what it's receiving by culture, education, and other factors. So what happens is that, people say this all the time. I went into the room and I got an eerie feeling, or I went into the room and the guy gave me the creeps, but nothing was said, or they didn't see anything consciously that gave them the creeps. So what's happening is that your other senses, your eyes, your ears, your nose, even your sense of taste, are taking in all the information and sensing that something's not right. But because we live in such a visual world, we filter out those things until they're completely, confirmed. And that's why people get like this sixth sense. The hair stands on the back of their neck, things like that about certain people. And here's the same thing, that the guy's seeing something going on, but he's not exactly sure what it is. He can't see everything, but he can sense something's out of the ordinary. And you'll see this with other things too, that people will sense things and then they'll realize later on that's probably what this was. But a lot of what we do in our brain is filter out information, because based on our education and our logic and our upbringing, we filter out things that don't agree with our worldview and the way we've been raised.
In front of the Texas School Book Depository, says she sees a shot hit the pavement near the Stemmons Freeway sign.
I thought it was a firecracker. It looked just like you could see the sparks from it, and I just thought it was a firecracker, and I was thinking that there was somebody there fixing to get in a lot of trouble, and we thought the kids or whoever threw it were down below or standing near the underpass, so back up here by the sign.
Governor John Connally.
You see, and then that is why you have people, ducking to the left of the president, because rounds are coming from the Texas School Book Depository, other rounds are coming from the Deltex building, and that's why people are ducking. They're hearing and seeing things. They don't exactly see the bullet, but they know something's not right. Their sixth sense is kicking in and they're dropping. That's exactly what's going on there.
Recognizes the first noise as a rifle shot, and the thought immediately crosses his mind that this is an assassination attempt. from his position in the right jump seat immediately in front of JFK. He instinctively turns to his right because to him, the shot seems to have come from over his right shoulder. James Teague, standing near the concrete abutment of the triple underpass about 260 feet downhill from the president's position, is hit on his cheek by a piece of concrete blown off the street curb when it is hit by one of the bullets fired at the president.
See, now initially, with the 3 cartridges found, the FBI said, okay, 1 hit Kennedy, 1 hit Connolly, and then 1 hit Kennedy in the head. That was their supposition until James Teague either came forward or was reported in the news, and the Warren Commission couldn't ignore that, and that's when you have this senator from Pennsylvania come up with the magic bullet, the zigzagging bullet, because if you got only 3 bullets, one's hit the curb where Teague's at, now you only have 2 bullets to cause the wound in the back of the president's neck, or back, the wound coming out of the president's neck, the wound going into the right side shoulder blade of Connolly, popping out of the nipple of Connolly, going into the wrist of Connolly, and then going down, embedding into the knee there. So that has to be 1 bullet because there can't be more than 3 bullets, right?
Teague is standing on a curb on Main Street, not Elm Street. He is more than 1 full block away from the president's car. Teague will not be questioned by the Warren Commission, and his existence is not even publicly announced for 7 months following the assassination. Patrolman M.L. Baker is regaining control of his motorcycle after the strong gust of wind from the north when he hears the sound of gunfire. He is riding a 2-wheel motorcycle behind the last press car of the motorcade. Mrs. Cabell turns to her husband and says,
Earl, it is a shot.
Roy Kellerman, riding in the front seat of the limo, will testify that he hears JFK say, "My God, I'm hit." No one else in the limo recalls hearing JFK say anything.
So again, you got to wonder why Roy Kellerman would say something like that, because if Kennedy's been hit in the back of the neck and the bullet pops out of his larynx or his throat right there, you're not going to hear Kennedy say anything except grunting noises, because it's basically cut off, his voice box. So I very much doubt that Kellerman even heard that.
Secret Service agent Clint Hill realizes immediately that something is wrong and jumps off the Secret Service follow-up car. He sprints towards the president's limousine. Hill is looking forward at the president while the other agents are looking in various directions.
And again, you see that in this picture right here. So when they get past the Simmons Freeway sign, that's when you see Clint Hill jump off the car and move forward. And you see how there's a gap now. Not a gap, but there's, the distance basically, there was a gap, and then now there's not a gap. And that would be caused by the driver slowing down, because he's in the kill zone, so he's going to slow down to make sure they can get those shots. But I don't know. Again, like I said, if the 2 Secret Service agents were involved in the plot, it's a suicide mission, because you got bullets bouncing off pavement, bullets going all over the car. You're going to get hit. So I very much doubt someone would volunteer for something like that, unless they really, really, really hated Kennedy enough that, I'll take a bullet so he can die.
He is therefore undoubtedly the first Secret Service agent to recognize the president's distress. Mary Mormon says,
A firecracker, maybe. There was another one just immediately following, which I thought was a firecracker, and then I stepped back up on the grassy area. I guess just people were falling all around us, knowing something was wrong. I certainly didn't know what was wrong.
According to Lyndon Baines Johnson, Rufus Youngblood, his Secret Service bodyguard, yells, "Get down!" and immediately jumps on top of the vice president, pushing him down in the car. Youngblood then practically sits on top of the prone vice president.
And again, you got to wonder, okay, I don't know if the vice president's here. I doubt they put the vice president there, but maybe they did. But I'll have to get the order of the cars. But you would think why would, okay, so Kennedy's getting shot in the kill zone here. Why would the Secret Service continue to drive the vice president into the kill zone? Some people have said that the assassins wanted to make sure that Johnson heard the shots so he would fall in line, and he knew what would await him if he didn't go along with whatever plans they had. That's one quote I heard. But again, if you're a Secret Service agent, you're not going to go driving the vice president into the kill box, with the kill zone there. You're going to drive off in another direction.
This is the version of the story as told by LBJ. Ralph Yarborough refuted this version, saying that both Youngblood and LBJ ducked down in the car at the first sounds of gunfire, and that Youngblood remained in the front seat. LBJ's car is the only car in the motorcade that does not have a Secret Service driver. Motorcycle policeman Marion L. Baker immediately glances up and sees pigeons fluttering off the depository roof. He believes the shots have come from either the depository or the Daltex building. He dismounts from his motorcycle and, gun in hand, rushes toward the Texas School Book Depository building.
Now there's video we're going to get into later that's going to show him. He is actually back around the corner here. So he hears the shots, brings his motorcycle around the corner, and, let's see, hold on a second. Brings his motorcycle around the corner. I believe he puts it down here and then runs this way. I've seen the video showing that he's running from this direction here. I wonder if we can see, there's enough for here for Johnson. Okay, let's see. Secret Service agent. Yeah, I don't see anything there. Okay, we'll keep going.
Baker races into the building, followed by the building manager, Roy Truly, who has been watching the motorcade from in front of the building. The two start to take an elevator, but both cars are locked on the 5th floor, so they use the stairs. Through the glass window in the door of a 2nd-floor lunchroom, according to the report Baker files with the FBI the following day, the man who is later identified by two competent witnesses as Lee Harvey Oswald was, quote, drinking a Coke, which he has evidently purchased from a lunchroom vending machine only moments before. The words, drinking a Coke, will be deleted from the report, and any reference to the soft drink during Baker's testimony before the Warren Commission will also be stricken. The Coke has become a pivotal detail with Warren Commission critics for two reasons. First is the Commission's deletion of Baker's statement about it. The second is the testimony of another building employee, Mrs. Robert A. Reed, that she saw Oswald drinking a Coke moments later. Critics argue that the Commission wanted knowledge of the Coke suppressed because it was impossible for Oswald to have fired the shots that killed the president from the 6th floor, hidden his rifle behind some boxes on the other side of the floor, raced down the stairs to the 2nd floor, purchased a Coke from the vending machine in the lunchroom, and begun drinking it before he was confronted by Baker and Truly. When Captain Will Fritz of the Dallas Police asked him about his whereabouts when the assassination happened, Oswald will say he was in the 2nd floor lunchroom drinking a Coca-Cola.
And there you go. You actually have 3, maybe 4 corroborating pieces of statements and evidence about the Coke there. So, what's going on there? Okay, so the Commission realizes that they've got a problem. Okay, so if this is the 6th floor assassination window, Oswald's got to race over to the northwest side where the stairs are, wipe off the weapon, okay, of his fingerprints, hide it behind the boxes here. He's on the 6th floor, so he's got to go 4 flights of stairs down, and then get into the 2nd floor break room, okay, with the Coke, or excuse me, where the Coke machine's at, fumble out and get the change, okay, get the Coke, pop the cap, and then come back over to the head of the doors there to be spotted by Baker, all within 90 seconds. So Baker, what he did is he made those statements for his FBI. Again, I'm talking about that filtration where the witnesses, they make a statement to the sheriff, the police, the FBI, the Secret Service, and then the FBI goes back and reinvestigates it for the Warren Commission to make another statement, and then the Warren Commission cherry picks the statements that back the single gunshot, the single assassin theory, and they pick and choose those statements that back that up. That's what they're doing there. And then, of course, the coke, all that right there presents a problem because Baker was really adamant. He went back and reenacted it for the Warren Commission, what he did. And they did it actually 4 or 5 times, going back and forth, walking the whole distance or running the distance, and all that, just a reenactment. And it took him about 90 seconds, almost every single time to do that. So in 90 seconds, Oswald has gone from upstairs firing the gun to downstairs drinking the coke, and that's a problem. That's why they removed the coke from the Warren Commission final report. And also, let's not forget, there was a lady about 12:20 that saw Oswald in the second floor lunchroom also drinking a coke. Is it the same coke? I doubt it. Okay, I think it's probably another coke because he's probably drinking 2 cokes for lunch there. So there's a problem. And then what is Oswald doing up by the second floor door of the break room there? He's probably heard shots, trying to figure out what's going on. Then as he goes to the doorway, he hears a bunch of commotion downstairs, and then decides, no, I don't want any of that. And then he turns away, and that's when Officer Baker sees him through the lunchroom doorway, through the window there, walking away. So that's what's going on there. A lot of people say the coke didn't exist. The coke did exist, and then there's another lady who sees Oswald right after Baker sees him and says he's carrying a coke. So, and then Oswald says later, to the police, well, what were you doing in the break room? Oh, I was drinking a coke. So that's at least three statements say he was drinking a coke at the time of the assassination. And then you got another lady saying, yeah, he was in the break room drinking a coke about 10 minutes before the assassination. So it doesn't get any clearer than that. The reason they removed the coke was they realize Oswald doesn't have enough time to do the things that they are claiming he's doing and drink the coke. So the coke basically eliminates Oswald as a witness, and you only remove, the Warren Commission's only removing the statement about the coke because they know that it removes Oswald as the assassin. It's impossible for Oswald to have shot the president, clean the rifle, hid the rifle, go down 4 flights of stairs, go into the lunchroom, fumble for his change. And all this time, you got to be nervous. You're thinking, hey, they're going to come get me any minute, so I got to hurry and get this coke. So you're fumbling for change. You sweat. You're going to be sweating, perspiring. Your heart's going to be beating, and you're trying to put, think about it. You're trying to get that change, put that money in that little tiny slot. All the while you're hearing, commotion, people coming up the stairs, boom, 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 like this. And then you're trying to get that coke, and then you got to pop the top, because back then, you had to take that coke and pop that metal top off, and then you got to drink it and then act all cool and calm and collective when the policeman shows up and points the gun at you and says, "Who are you?" And then your supervisor says, "Oh, it's okay, he works here." So the coke's a problem for the commission because the coke kills any kind of thing saying that Oswald was the assassin. It's just impossible for Oswald to have done what he did, or done what they're saying he did. Okay, and when you throw that out, then you have some kind of conspiracy because someone else is involved. Okay, others are involved, and the Warren Commission was trying to close doors and put it right down to Oswald and leave it at that. All right, keep going.
Harold Norman, Junior Jarman, and B.R. Williams are watching the motorcade from a fifth-floor window in the Texas Book Depository building. This window is directly under the Sniper's Nest window on the 6th floor. Norman will later testify that he can hear, quote, boom, click, click, boom, click, click, boom. Norman will continue to work at the Texas School Book Depository for over 30 more years and will disavow some of the reports in his Warren Commission testimony. Senator Ralph Yaw.
And there you go. So he hears the cycle rate of the rifle. So like I said, you've got to aim, you fire, you have to bring the rifle down from your cheek. You throw up the bolt, click, pull back the bolt, click, push forward the bolt, click, and then bring it back down again, click. So he's hearing the throwing up, the pulling back, and then the one going forward, and then boom. Okay? So he's hearing that right above him. Click, click, boom, click, click, boom, click, click, boom. Pretty simple.
Marlboro says,
God, they've shot the president.
Lady Bird Johnson says,
Oh no, that can't be.
Kenneth O'Donnell begins to bless himself. Dave Powers murmurs,
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Powers will later say that he and O'Donnell clearly saw the shots come from the grassy knoll. Powers says he felt they were, quote, riding into an ambush, explaining why William Greer begins to slow the limo. Secret Service agent Roy Kellerman sitting next to
See, even that guy recognized he was in an ambush in a kill zone. That doesn't, you don't have to be an expert. There it is.
the driver of JFK's limo, William Greer, testifies that he hears Mrs. Kennedy say to JFK, quote, "What are they doing to you?" Kellerman, turning to driver William Greer, mutters,
"We're hit."
Kellerman would later tell the Warren Commission,
"If President Kennedy had, from all reports, 4 wounds, Governor Conley 3, well, there have got to be more than 3 shots, gentlemen."
Greer ignores Kellerman's warning. The presidential limousine,
See,
which has
even
been
Kellerman
moving at
doesn't
about
believe it.
11 miles an hour, slows down perceptibly. The brake lights go on. Greer turns around in his seat to look directly at JFK. Later, the Zapruder film will be closely studied, and it will be determined that frames showing Greer's head turn have possibly been altered. Next to the Stemmons Freeway sign at curbside stands a man holding an open umbrella, the only open umbrella in the area. After the first shot, the umbrella man pumps the umbrella up and down. This action and the umbrella man is filmed by Abraham Zapruder.
All right, so something I noticed yesterday by looking at these photos again, and I want to mention that here. Let's see. All right, so you see the umbrella man. He's standing right by the Stemmons Freeway sign. Here's the Cuban with the headset and the radio device. Now notice, you see how it's almost like a box square right here? Right here is the grassy knoll. The gunman's going to be about right here. Okay? So what they're doing is they're providing a kill zone, a box to shoot at. Okay? So the gunman, all the gunman has to do is just follow in that box. And this is within seconds of this is where Kennedy gets his head blasted off. Okay? So maybe, over here, he got shot in the throat. Actually, no, it doesn't even look like he's been shot yet. So when he gets shot in the throat, he emerges from the Stemmons Freeway sign, and then he's shot again. So you can see the kill box right here. These two men are providing the kill box. You're going to have the radio man ahead so he can see everything that's going on. This man here is going to be having the umbrella out, okay, as a signal between the grassy knoll man and the man up in the school book depository and the Daltex building. So it's a good way to do that. Although, again, I don't know if I'd want to be that guy right there. What if the guy, follows along with his gun and accidentally, boom, hits him right there? Because he actually ends up shooting him over here. I believe, yeah. But this is a real good kill box for the first shot. Because as soon as he starts pumping that umbrella, because see, this guy back here can't see Kennedy, okay, until he gets into the kill zone. So this guy pumping the umbrella, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 1, 1, or like that. Or maybe, up, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, like that. Boom, that means he's there. He's counting cadence from when Kennedy rolls into the kill zone. And then it's just a matter of, maybe there's even 2 shooters. I would think I would even put 2 shooters up here. One over here, and just start firing away. But, I don't know. We'll see. All right, we'll keep going.
Agent John D. Reedy jumps off the Secret Service follow-up car to dash to the JFK limo. He is recalled by Special Agent in Charge Emery Roberts.
And there you go. That is another sign of a layer of protection being held back. Now, he's going to say later that, the car was already starting to go. I wanted him back in the car so he could ride to Parkland. He wasn't going to make the president's limo. But that's another sign that another layer of protection has been pulled back so the Kennedy can be shot.
Roberts also orders all other agents not to move. In her open convertible, Mrs. Earl Cabell smells the unmistakable odor of gunpowder in the air. Ralph Yarborough also smells gunpowder. He will eventually say,
I always thought that was strange because being familiar with firearms, I never could see how I could smell the powder from a rifle high in that building.
Mary Mormon has fought.
And there you go. That nails it right there. So if you have rifles firing in this direction, okay, the cars are going to pass through the smoke from the powder burning from the gunfire. All right, we'll keep going.
Fallen on the grass after taking a Polaroid photograph of JFK in his limo. She pulls at the leg of Gene Hill, screaming, "Get down, they're shooting." 5 seconds after JFK has first clutched his neck, the limousine still seems to be in its stultifying pause, the driver, William Greer, looking over his shoulder into the back seat. Greer's son will eventually wonder why his father was JFK's driver, citing his father's intense dislike of JFK as the reason.
Yeah, wow. Makes you wonder, huh? So, again, we don't have to be reminded that much of the history of the Praetorian Guard. You always want to keep them on your side, keep them happy, because if they don't like you, just ask Caligula and ask numerous other emperors who've been killed by their own Praetorian Guard. Doesn't take much. But again, JFK doesn't get to pick the Secret Service members. He does get to maybe pick some of the ones that are closest to him, around him, but most of the Secret Service agents are assigned. And again, like I said, that I'd say 75-80% of the Secret Service, the military, the FBI, the CIA, I would have to classify as being conservative Republicans, okay? And so you can bet that if people are hard-nosed, conservative, cold warriors, especially when they served under Eisenhower for the last 8 years, that they're not going to be real sympathetic to, they're going to do their job, but they're not going to risk their life to save Kennedy, okay? Because there's always going to be another president.
In the motorcade press buses, men are asking each other if what they've just heard could be rifle fire. A driver says,
they're giving him a 21-gun salute.
Mrs. Earl Cabell is riding in an open convertible 6 cars back from the motorcade's lead car. At this moment, her car is just passing the depository building. She jerks her head up on hearing the first shot because,
I heard the direction from which the shot came.
Looking up, she sees an object projecting from one of the top windows of the depository building. Governor Connolly will later testify.
I do not believe, nor will I ever believe, that I was hit with the first bullet. I don't believe that. I heard the first shot. I reacted to the first shot, and I was not hit with that bullet. Now, there's a great deal of speculation that the president and I were hit with the same bullet. That might well be, but it surely wasn't the first bullet, and Ellie doesn't think it's the second bullet.
Yeah, and there you go. So even Connolly, who is sitting in front of the president, doesn't believe they were both hit by the same shot. Because he heard the shot, he had time to react and turn, and then he was shot within a couple of seconds after that. So it doesn't sound like the same bullet.
I don't know. I didn't hear the second bullet. I felt the second bullet. We obviously weren't hit by the third bullet. I was down reclining in her lap at the time the third bullet hit.
At this sound, driver William Grill will testify he realizes that something is wrong, and he presses down on the accelerator as Roy Kellerman yells, "Get out of here fast." As he issues his instructions to Greer and to the lead car, Kellerman hears a, quote, flurry of shots within 5 seconds of the first noise. Merriman Smith turns to Bob Clark of ABC News on the press bus and says, "Those were gunshots." 15-year-old Amos Ewens reportedly sees a colored man firing from the book depository window. Later, he will testify that he does not know whether the man he sees in the window is colored or white. James Richard Worrell Jr. sees 6 inches of a rifle protruding from the book depository window and hears a total of 4 shots.
There you go.
Billy Lovelady, who is standing on the front steps of the Texas School Book Depository, believes the sounds of shots have come from right there around that concrete little deal on that knoll.
So let's think about this for a second, okay? So let's see if I can find a picture here. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, so maybe this will work. So think about it. If the first noise that you hear is coming from, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is coming from this window, your attention is going to be focused on that window, okay? And then if other shots are coming from here, you're not going to all of a sudden look to that place because there's a continuous amount of shots coming from here. And then you're definitely not going to whip your head around and look at shots coming from over here. So if there's shots coming from this window, you're going to keep focused on that window. You're not going to either notice or turn to see shots coming from that window or from the grassy knoll. So that's why the shots had to come from here first. It drew the attention of the witnesses looking in that direction. It also, it puts the guilt on Oswald. And then the other shots can be fired from here. Now, I don't know if they were using silencers, but if you're firing and there's echoes, that would probably cover up, besides the engines revving and other noises, people screaming, and the distractions would probably do a good deal to covering up the other shots coming from other directions.
He will tell the FBI that he did not at any time believe the shots had come from the Texas School Book Depository. Maggie Brown is standing to the left front of the knoll. She believes the shots have come from behind her and to the right. Mr. and Mrs. John Chisholm and their 3-year-old son are standing along the curb with their backs to the grassy knoll near the Stemmons Freeway sign. John Chisholm and his wife look behind them to see exactly where the shots are coming from.
Again, so those 2 witnesses right there, let's bring it back again. Let's see if I can find another shot from these fantastic photos. So if she's standing about right here and the shots are coming over her shoulder behind her, they're not coming from the 6th floor depository, they're coming from the grassy knoll. So there's just another confirmation there.
believing the shooter is somewhere on the knoll. William Newman and his wife are standing at the base of the grassy knoll and are positioned between the knoll and the limousine during the shooting. Both say the shots have come from behind them.
And I believe this is the picture of them. Let's see. Hold on one second. Great photos, Dealey Plaza, UK. Fantastic. Can't recommend these guys enough here. Alright, so that's them right there. See, they're shielding their children. So, if the shots are coming over your shoulder, here, firing at the limo, you're going to duck. And then you see how they duck down here, and they're looking back up this direction because they're looking back to see where the shots are coming from. You don't see them, you see how their heads are kind of tilted to the left? You don't see them looking to the right. Even their body is going up the knoll here. Their heads are looking to the left. You see these people here. You don't see them looking back towards the school book depository. They're looking towards the picket fence. You see this lady here, this man here. They're looking up in that direction. You see, even the cop is running that way. The other cop, he stopped. He's about to start running that way. The news photographers, they're taking photos and they're looking that way. People don't look at echoes. People don't look back at echoes when a gunshot goes off.
Secret Service agent Lem Johns is out of the Vice President's follow-up car and running towards the Vice President's vehicle. He will later tell the Warren Commission,
"Before I reached the Vice President's car, a third shot had sounded and the entire motorcade then picked up speed and I was left on the street at this point. I obtained a ride with the White House movie men and joined the Vice President and a special agent in charge, Youngblood, at Parkland Hospital."
In the presidential limo, Mrs. Nellie Conley at first thinks that her husband has been killed, but then notices an almost imperceptible movement and realizes that he is still alive. She says, "It's all right, be still." The governor is lying with his head on his wife's lap when he hears a shot hit JFK. At this point, both Governor and Mrs. Conley observe brain tissue splatter over the interior of the car. According to Governor and Mrs. Conley, it was after this shot that Roy Kellerman issues his emergency instructions and the car accelerates. John Connolly says,
"I heard it hit. It hit with a very pronounced impact, just almost like that, almost that loud a sound. It made a very, very strong sound. Immediately, I could see blood and brain tissue all over the interior of the car and all over our clothes. We were both covered with brain tissue, and there were pieces of brain tissue as big as your little finger. It was something that was unmistakable. There was no question in my mind about what it was."
Escort motorcycle officers Bobby W. Hargis and B.J. Martin are splattered by blood and brain matter. Martin, who has looked to his right after the shots, will later find bloodstains on the left side of his helmet. Hargis, who is riding nearest the limousine about 6 to 8 feet from the left rear fender, sees Kennedy's head explode and is hit by bits of flesh and bone with such impact that he will tell reporters he thought he had been shot. The motorcycle policemen to the right rear of the president's limousine are not struck by any debris. A piece of bone will later be found by Billy Harper, later identified as occipital bone by the chief pathologist at Methodist Hospital, 25 feet behind and to the left of the car's position where the president was hit in the head, according to the Secret Service.
And there you go. So let's take a look at that position here again, okay? So, all right. So here's Billy Hargis. He's hit. He turns to the right. The left side of his helmet is hit with blood and brain matter. So how do you get blood and brain matter on the left side of your helmet, okay, if they're firing from behind you and to the right? It just doesn't make any sense, right? How you do that is, I mean, it's just all matter of, physical science. You have an object fired from a rifle, a bullet, that comes from this direction. It hits the president in the front of the head, or the front right side. It goes out the back of the president's head, blows off his skull cap there. Hargis is looking to the right because the shots are coming, he's hearing from up on the right. His helmet is turned, so when the blood and brain matter gets splattered back this direction, they're going to hit the left side of his helmet. There's no way you can get blood and brain matter on the left side of Hargis's helmet, okay, if Kennedy is shot and hit with a bullet that hits him in the back of the head and the brain blood matter goes forward. It's just impossible. So again, it just says right there that there is a shooter in the picket fence area. It's just, you can't escape it. I'm not a ballistics expert, but I have common sense, and I know that if I push something forward, okay, if I come up with my fist and I hit this guy, and I'm standing right here, if I hit this guy on this side, he's going to go that way. When I hit this guy right here, he's not going to fall forward to the left where I'm at. Okay? He's going to go that way. Same thing if I come up and hit this guy. He's not going to go this way forward. If I hit him from over here, he's going to go backwards this way to the left. And again, how do you get a piece of the skull cap found over here? Okay? Actually, excuse me. Found over here. You don't get a piece of the skull cap with a bullet firing down this way into the president with the brain matter going this way. You get a piece of the skull cap and the brain tissue over in the grassy knoll or grassy area here from a bullet being fired in this direction. It's just all, common sense. Just all makes, if you think about it, just use common sense and you come to the logical conclusion here. Alright, we'll keep going. We're almost done with this.
Gordon Arnold, on leave following his Army basic training, is an amateur cinematographer anxious to film the presidential motorcade from the best possible angle. Dressed in his Army uniform, Arnold first chooses as his site the railroad overpass at the western end of Dealey Plaza, which offers a clear unobstructed view of the plaza, through which the motorcade is to pass. Arnold is prevented from entering the overpass by a well-dressed man who shows him a Secret Service badge and ID. Official records indicate that no Secret Service...
Again, you all know my position on Gordon Arnold. He's full of shit. You see the confusion there? Gordon Arnold actually says it was a CIA ID, and then later he changes it to a Secret Service ID. So they're using the Secret Service one here. But Gordon Arnold's full of shit, but we'll keep listening to it.
Agents are assigned to patrol the area on foot today. However, a Dallas police officer and a county deputy sheriff reportedly encounters a second such agent on the grassy knoll immediately after the shooting. Arnold then finds a suitable vantage point from which to shoot his movie film, only a few feet in front of the stockade fence on the grassy knoll. Suddenly...
And if you think about it, everybody read the story in the 60s about policemen encountering a Secret Service agent flashing credentials saying, I've already searched this area, the rail yard, and everything's fine. So Gordon Arnold can just read this story and throw it out there. The same thing happened to him earlier.
He feels a shot whiz past his left ear. He throws himself to the ground in an involuntary reaction, probably due to his recent training. Questioned by a uniformed police officer a few seconds later, Arnold insists that the shots came from behind him. The officer confiscates Arnold's film. Arnold will recount the experience in a 1978 interview published in the Dallas Morning News. While some people discount his story, it receives tacit corroboration from Senator Ralph Yarborough, who is riding with Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson.
And again, he tells two different versions. In The Men Who Killed Kennedy by Nigel Turner, he says that this man, he didn't say he was the shooter or the Secret Service agent or CIA guy, but this man came around, he was holding a rifle, started kicking him, demanded his film, and he gave him the film because he wasn't going to give him the camera because it was his mother's. He gave him, and the guy was crying. I don't know why you'd be crying if you just assassinated the president. And then the guy took the film, went off one direction, he went off in another direction. And then later, another story, he says, that he told the story to a policeman, gave the camera and the film to the policeman, and never saw it again. But there's no police report about this thing. The FBI doesn't question him. Nothing. So it's all bullshit. Get your story together, Gordon Arnold.
And 2 cars behind Kennedy's. Yarborough will write the Morning News that he recalls that when the first shot was fired, he saw a uniformed figure immediately, quote, hit the dirt at the spot where Arnold said he was filming. The senator remembers thinking to himself that the man's quick reaction suggested he must be a combat veteran. Nothing more has ever been heard of Arnold's confiscated film, and the police officer who took it and the Secret Service agent who prevented Arnold from going onto the overpass have never been identified.
All right, so I'm going to have to look at Yarborough's statement again, but Yarborough didn't say that the person who dove for the wall was uniformed. He just said has to be because he says in Nigel Turner's The Men Who Killed Kennedy, he says that guy had to have been in the military because as soon as he heard the gunshots, he dove for the wall. He didn't say, I saw a uniformed man. He says, I saw a man dive for the wall as soon as the gunshot started. And, my problem with that, though, is that if you look at the position of Senator Yarborough, he's not in the position, he hasn't turned the corner yet, okay, to see anyone. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to look again at the position of Senator Yarborough in his car, but he's not in a position to see anyone either at the first shot, second shot, or third shot. Maybe later, but not then.
Special Agent William Greer will testify that, quote, the last 2 shots seemed to be just simultaneously, one behind the other. Secret Service Agent Paul Landis in the car with Dave Powers and Kenneth O'Donnell says he believes the final headshot came from the grassy knoll, but that an earlier shot came from above and behind him, in the direction of the book depository. At least 7 witnesses see a puff of smoke on the grassy knoll. Witness Howard Brennan, who is reportedly observing a rifle protruding from the 6th floor window at this time, will later testify that he does not see the last shot fired. But you heard the last shot, he is asked. Yes, sir. Arthur Walt Brown states, this strongly suggests that the last shot was not fired from the weapon in the 6th floor window that Brennan was observing. Forrest V. Sorrells head...
All right, and I'm going to tell you about shots because I was in the military, and so you got kind of a good idea about shooting. So just take an instance out of the firing range, okay? If you're at the firing range and you got a lineman to your right and a lineman to your left, and they all have rifles, and when they give this command, commence firing, they're going to be firing on top of each other. So you're going to hear the first initial shots, crack, 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 like that. But you're not going to hear every single rifle firing. That's because some rifles are firing at the same time, and their noise is covering up others. Another thing you have to remember is that sound is not at the speed of light, okay? So I'll just put it to you this way, that if a shot goes off here, and you're here, it's going to take, a couple of milliseconds for that shot sound to get to you. So if there's shots going off here and it gets you before that one or at the same time, it's going to drown out. One of these is going to drown out the other. Okay? So you could have multiple shots going off. Boom, 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 boom. 10, 12 shots, but only people hear 3. Okay? So you got to remember that about gunshots. And then you've got, the Warren Commission was really famous about echoes because of all this concrete. You got echoes, and then the trees, which are absorbing sounds. The buildings are bouncing off sounds. Sounds are bouncing off the buildings and are being absorbed by trees and the grass. So you could have 10, 15 shots going off and only hear 3 or 4. That's just the way reality is. And then, no one closes off this street here. Okay? No one is closed off this street. So you got cars going up this street. You probably got cars that are being blocked here and idled. So just because people say they hear certain things doesn't mean that they heard everything. All right, we'll keep going.
Of the Dallas office of the Secret Service is riding in the front car of the motorcade. Certain there are gunshots, he shouts to Curry, "Let's get out of here." Hearing the shots, James Teague, who has been standing near the triple underpass in Dealey Plaza, quickly seeks shelter behind a concrete abutment located between Main and Commerce. Though he doesn't yet realize it, he has been struck on the cheek by a piece of flying debris and is bleeding. It is assumed that Teague has been struck by a piece of concrete sent flying by a projectile that strikes the curb near him, or by a fragment from a bullet that hits the curb, or by a fragment that strikes him before hitting anything else. Whatever it is that has hit the curb near Teague, it has left a mark in the concrete which will eventually become the subject of much debate. Deputy Sheriff Buddy Walters, who sees the mark soon after the shooting, agrees that it has been caused by a bullet.
So there's another thing. It can't be a fragment. It has to be a bullet because... Here, let's go to the map. Hold on one second. So Teague is standing right here. This curb is right here. 6th floor is above and behind. This is the grassy knoll. We'll go to the expanded map here. Hold on one second. Alright, here's same view, but it's an aerial view. Here's the curb. Teague is here. The bullets are firing from here and from here. Now, let's just think about this logically. ...155 meters, 510 feet, 3 football fields. If a bullet hits the president or Connolly, no fragments are going to fly, 250 feet and hit a curb. It's just impossible. What hit that curb was a bullet. Even our inspector had to recognize it was a bullet. Couldn't have been a fragment. Okay. There were other bullets and other holes found in this area here. So to say that that was a fragment, just impossible. Anyway, we'll keep moving on here. We're almost finished actually with this timeline.
Patrolman Clyde Haygood, who radios in the incident at around 12:40 p.m., will be under the same impression. In a 1966 filmed interview, Teague unequivocally states that the mark was the result of a bullet striking the curb. He believes of the 3 shots he hears, it is the second shot that hits the curb, not the third one. He is pretty certain he hears a shot after he is stung by a fragment of cement or lead. Senator Ralph Yarborough, a few cars behind JFK's, will remember,
"All of the Secret Service men seemed to me to respond very slowly with no more than a puzzled look. Knowing something of the training that combat infantrymen and Marines received, I am amazed at the lack of instantaneous response by the Secret Service when the rifle fire began.
Over a minute after Curry orders the motorcade to the hospital at 12:31:22, Sheriff Decker says,
Hold everything secure until the homicide and other investigators can get there.
Agent in charge, Emery Roberts, in the follow-up car, picks up the phone.
Escort us to the nearest hospital. Fast, but at a safe speed.
The 20 sheriff's deputies who have just watched JFK's motorcade pass the sheriff's office at the intersection of Main and Houston begin running in the direction of the grassy knoll. One researcher found that of the 20 Dallas police deputies who will give statements regarding today's events, quote, 16 thought the assassin had fired from the area of the grassy knoll, while 3 had no opinion, and 1 decided the shots came from the book depository.
And again, you want to think about that. So if you have policemen who are used to gunshots and the sounds of gunshots, they're probably a much better expert at understanding the direction that a gunshot has come from. So if you got, 16 of them? 16 of them going in the direction of the grassy knoll out of 20, you probably got a good idea that's probably where the shot or one of the shots came from.
Secret Service agent Clint Hill, who has rushed from the Secret Service backup car to JFK's limo, has just secured a grip on a handhold when the car begins accelerating. Looking into the back seat of the limousine, Hill sees that the right rear portion of the president's head is missing.
As I lay over the top of the back seat, I noticed a portion of the president's head on the right rear side was missing, and he was bleeding profusely. Part of his brain was gone. I saw a part of his skull with hair on it lying in the seat.
Hill protects President.
And again, there you go, right there. We're going to read his testimony, okay, that clearly says that, you got to understand that, say this is the limousine, okay? Clint Hill is this is Kennedy laying in the lap of Jackie, his head first. So the back of his head is pointing up to the sky. Clint Hill is on top of the president, using his body to protect the president and looking into the head, the back of the head of the president, and he says there's a hole in the back of the head, not the front, not the side, but the back of the head, just like all the Parkland doctors say. You don't get a hole in the back of the president's head with a shot coming from behind him. Okay? It's just impossible. Just impossible. Okay? Let's keep going.
President and Mrs. Kennedy with his body all the way to Parkland Hospital. While doing so, Hill looks back at the agents in the Secret Service car immediately behind the JFK limo and shakes his head. In the Secret Service car, Agent Emery Roberts tells the other agents that they now have to take care of LBJ.
All right, and that's it. That is a great chronology. I don't agree with everything that's in it, but hey, nothing's perfect. You use what you have, and that was really good. I'm sorry it took, 5-6 videos to go through it, but I thought the comments I was making and pointing out and adding other evidence was important. So we'll continue tomorrow, my next video, and we'll get more into my chronology I have here with these different things. We're next going to go into, we might get Josiah Thompson another time, but yeah, we'll go into the definite timeline here. All right, so take care, enjoy, make comments, please, and we'll see you next time. Bye.